Welcome back, everybody. In the last video, I showed you how to make everything legendary using the LDS shuffle. But you may have noticed that we missed something quite important. And what we missed is modules. Our legendary Tier 3 modules require 3 special ingredients. Speed modules require tungsten carbide. Productivity modules require biter eggs, and quality modules require superconductors. Today, I'm going to show you how you can make all 3 of these materials using what I will describe as smart upcycling. As I briefly mentioned last time, quality upcycling is the process where we input normal items only, send those through recyclers with quality modules in them, and then send the normal items back to make more of the first product, and then send the quality items on, which means we end up crafting normal into uncommon, into rare, into epic, and into legendary at a much better ratio than just using quality modules on the normal product only. Now, if we remember correctly, the chance output of using 4 normal quality modules is 10%, which means to get a legendary, it is a 0.01% chance. That means that for every 10,000 green circuits we craft, 1 of them will be legendary. So quality upcycling allows us to get a much better chance of that. And that will be the principle moving forward for a lot of the items that we aren't going to be able to make with the legendary bus base we made last video. Another very key principle of quality upcycling is going to be smart crafting. And smart crafting means that instead of trying to make what we want and then recycle it at a 25% loss, we want to find something that has great productivity and also creates a lot of what we're looking for. In this case, if we wanted to make green circuits at high qualities, what we would do is we'd use processing units. They take 20 green circuits and have a productivity research where we could theoretically get to 300% and infinitely recycle our inputs. So for instance, again, if we wanted copper, we would probably make LDS for it using 20 copper plates and can accept productivity. So to smart upcycle, we need to make sure that it has a lot of the ingredient and can accept productivity to minimize our recycling losses. In this case, right now, we're at 50% productivity, and we'd be able to get it up to 175% productivity, which means for every 1 set of input resources, we get 2.75. The closer that number is to 1 to 4, the better. And then we'd obviously use our quality modules, which in this case get us a 24.8% chance, and just send it back in. That's the principles of smart upcycling. So just briefly refreshing, let's go through what we need. We need tungsten carbide, biter eggs, and supercapacitors. If we check tungsten carbide, it can be used in 5 things only. Metallurgic science, which cannot be recycled into tungsten carbide. Quantum processors, which can accept productivity, but need to be made in space, away from your source of tungsten. Speed modules, which can be recycled, but if you can make the speed module, why would you recycle it? It only has 1 and doesn't accept productivity. Foundries also don't accept productivity and require a lot of ingredients. And same with big miners. So already we seem to not be able to do our smart recycling with this, and that is correct. The way that we are going to be getting tungsten carbide is through dumb upcycling. And here we have a dumb upcycling setup. We send tungsten and coal in to make tungsten carbide with sulfuric acid at normal quality. We allow it to have productivity, which means 100% here, which isn't very good, but it's the best thing that we're going to get. We'll then just send it through a recycler with quality modules in it and filter out the legendaries. This machine consumes 240 raw tungsten ore because of belt throughput limitations, outputs 240 tungsten carbide, and is all recycled So every output that isn't legendary is sent through the recycler again for another chance at quality upcycling. We end up with an approximate rate of around 5 per minute, which doesn't sound great, but honestly speaking, it's not too bad for legendaries. This is an easily expandable design. You can just paste more of these. You also don't need to be using legendary everything like I am in this setup, but the more legendary you have, especially when it comes to the quality modules, the bigger the influx of legendary tungsten you will get. In this case, we can see that we're getting about 6, which is quite lucky, but is totally dependent on chance. So, tungsten carbide is dumb upcycling. Unfortunately, so are biter eggs. Biter eggs can be used in a few things, but none of them are going to be easily upcyclable. Biolabs can't be recycled, neither can captive biter spawners. You wouldn't want to be upcycling the overgrowth soils, especially because they need to be made on Gleba and can't accept productivity. You wouldn't recycle your productivity modules, and you can't turn nutrients back into biter eggs. So unfortunately, biter eggs require another dumb upcycling setup. And here we have our dumb upcycling setup. We just have a bunch of biter spawners, captive ones, with bioflux going around in a loop, burning off spoilage, into some recyclers with quality modules, and that's it. And looking here, we can see it's about 0.5 per minute with this setup, which is 22 legendary captive biter spawners. So you can imagine that the rates are going to be much lower if you don't have legendaries. But the good thing is that these are very cheap, so by the time you can get your captive biter spawners and need legendary productivity modules, you should just spam these out. Just make huge farms of them. Make sure you include defense and spoilage filtering, and you should be fine. I'll provide blueprint links in the comments to all of these. Now, superconductors. Superconductors are a lot more interesting. I'll cut to the chase and say that we can make supercapacitors. And this is going to help us a lot by also giving us legendary holmium plates when we can, which can be used to make legendary electromagnetic plants and legendary lithium. It all ties together. So, legendary supercapacitors have a 10-second craft, but can accept productivity and need to be made in an electromagnetic plant. So, let's have a look at the setup that we've been using to make legendary superconductors. Now, this setup is quite a lot larger than the others, and that is all due to the fact that it is requiring just a little bit more complexity for the sake of rates. So what we have is we have ingredients coming through without a filter priority on them, so they are just a top up. Because we don't have a nice 300% productivity here, only 175, we're going to have to live with constantly needing just a little bit more input, but it's not much. So we craft our normal qualities in quite a large capacity with productivity modules. We then send them through the legendary recyclers with our quality modules, of course, and then into some pretty basic splitters. There are definitely better designs for this. I'm just providing you with an example here. But we will filter off the green circuits because they make up the bulk of it, and then send it back. Normal quality will go back to normal, but then we'll be looking to craft our uncommon supercapacitors, which we'll send through again and recycle, and hopefully upcycling into rares, epics, or legendary. And in this case, we don't actually need that many assemblers for our higher quality superconductors because you can already see that we're making too much. This bank of recyclers probably needs to be a lot bigger, or we need to just reduce the speed at which we craft. Either way, this is just a guide. And in this case, we actually get quite a good rate here. We are making 22 legendary superconductors per minute. I've been roughly seeing averages around 13.5, but just thinking that this is a lot of quality modules, and with a lot of legendary holmium plates as well, you'll be able to make legendary lithium, which also means you can make legendary cryogenic plants and more. But in this case, when we want to smart upcycle, we always need to be importing normal ingredients and then crafting them up and up until we get our legendaries. And because we already have all of the other legendary components, that being the advanced circuits and the processing units from our legendary Vulcanus base, we can now start crafting legendary tier 3 modules, that being quality, speed, and productivity. I hope this video has proved informative and useful if you're looking to expand your factory to legendary modules without gambling. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. I will be trying to add more and more ways to get legendary items in future. But for now, that's all from me. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.